We have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat. Period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck.
I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass, as always, is my partner Mark Wages, who just had a out-of-body experience with an alien of some kind. No, I'm kidding, but something just lit up the entire room he was in. You know, like all I can do is sort of look across at what's going on with Mark. So it was
that
really
was nuts,
kind of
wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really strange. The everything just honestly like he had a strobe light on, which was really
Yeah, it was
really
weird.
kind of odd. Yeah. I want to do a big shout out and thank you to the people over at Marfugal. We can't say thank you enough. Honestly, there are so many people that have taken an interest in what we're doing here, and Marfugal has done so much for the boat. And I was on there the other night. I was talking about the Fent and basically where it's coming from and the fact that we think that we're under attack, so to speak. And it was really it was a great experience, and a lot of people came over and to check out the boat. So if you're just joining us for the first time and you're coming over from the Marfugal fam, we are glad to have you. All right, people, we got a lot to talk about today. And I don't squirrel, so we shouldn't have any problem getting through all of this. All righty. So you know how we did we've been talking a lot about one pill can kill. And I said to everybody, I don't really dig a lot of government programs or anything like that, but that is a term that they came up with, and they were using it sort of as an advertising campaign. But the bizarre thing is, this was actually a program to try to eradicate fent. Right? This was their big push to see what kind of damage they could do to their to the infrastructure of people selling this, so to speak. And you can almost take what they did and multiply it by 4 and say, if they did this for an entire year, this is what we'd be looking at, because this went on for a 4-month period of time. It went on from May 23rd to September the 8th. And they came up with 390 cases, right? This means that the federal government will be prosecuting 390 different cases having to do with fentanyl. 51 of these cases, they were turned on to these cases because of overdoses. Not all of them ended in deaths. The vast majority did, but 51 of these they got turned on to because of people who overdosed. 35 of these cases they were able to trace back, and I don't mean through 40 different intermediaries. I mean a straight shot to the 2 cartels down south of the border that are responsible for everything that is going on here in the U.S. when it comes to fent. And trust me, we're going to give you the name of them, but I don't feel like doing it twice, because the end of this is going to be a pretty big push on who exactly that is and what's going on. They got 12. Let me see here. I'm sorry. They got 10.2 million pills over the course of 1/4 of a year. They seized 10.2 million pills. And I know there are people here right now going, what are you talking about? They got 35 million. Fell after that project. So right now they're doing a little bit better, but during that time they had 10.2 million pills and 980 pounds of raw fent, which would lead you to believe that at least at that point there was more raw coming in than there was stuff being pressed into pills. So the majority of it was coming across, and people were buying pill presses and doing the stuff here themselves. In February of last year, we saw the very first rainbow stuff come into the United States. And it wasn't, I mean, it really wasn't on the radar. It's a couple of small busts or whatever. Now 21 states in the US have been busted. I mean, have had drug busts with the rainbow colored stuff. Brandon, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And he does make a good point. If you have not slapped that like button, you probably should do it. It really helps out with the you know what. So the 2.7 kilos today, right? We heard from a place in Florida, Polk County, 2.7 million deaths could be cranked out from the amount of fent that they seized on an undercover run just recently. People, if you take 5 minutes, you type in this stuff into your wherever you live, and you're going to get bombarded with what just happened where you live, right? I started looking all over the country for the biggest busts, and I started doing my deep dive. And Douglas County, right, which is about a driver and a 3-wood from where I'm at right now. There were 5 police officers that had to go to the hospital last night with an overdose, a dose of fent that they were concerned about, and they had to be given Narcan. I really want to address this one because there are people out there that want to jump on this anytime the subject matter comes up, right? And I think it's probably, this works on both sides of the equator, right? Both sides of the equation, I should say. We don't want to put out fake information. It's the last thing in the world we want to do. And I don't mean we as in the boat. I'm talking about the world, because what ends up happening is kids go, they're lying. I know people that handle that stuff every single day, right? I got friends that are selling tons of it. I watched him sit and bag this stuff up for 3 hours. Now, how is that stuff? Okay. So we're going to go over this one more time. There are 2 different substances, right? One is fentanyl. The other has a car in front of that, right? It's carfentanil. Carfent was designed to knock out elephants and mammals of about that size, right? So if a rhino needs to get knocked out at a zoo, carfentanil is going to be what takes them down, right? They have realized that you got to smuggle a lot less of that across the border in hopes of doing the exact same thing, because they say it is 100 times the strength of fent, or roughly 1,000 times the strength of morphine, which is terrifying. I mean, honestly, terrifying. And handling that stuff most assuredly can make you OD. Now, we've seen videos where a guy touches it and falls down. If that happened, it didn't happen from what he touched, right? Anybody that has seen an OD or knows anything about it, right? It doesn't go slam. You're going to watch his eyes get heavy or her eyes get heavy. The breathing is going to get labored. There are a bunch of symptoms that are going to start to come on. The good news about that is it gives you plenty of time to start trying to figure out a way to treat these people. Don't drag your feet, because by the time they're into the full-blown effects of this, it's going to take somewhere between 3 to 6 doses of Narcan. And if you don't have that stuff, they are going to be part of next year's statistics. Bottom line, carfentanil. And I've had people send me emails recently that said, look, that stuff really isn't coming across. 46 pounds in one bust, right? 46 pounds in one bust of the car, not the regular stuff, right? That is one of 60 that I was able to find in about 40 minutes of doing a deep dive on this. So for those of you who say, no, there's only this stuff in there, you're not even in the ballpark. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but we're all entitled to our opinion. Facts, on the other hand, are facts, and you can't really twist those around. So I think it's important that we don't create anything that's worse than it is. But look, Douglas County, Nevada, you can look this stuff up. And 5 of these people had to be taken to the hospital. They didn't drop, right? But it was real obvious real quick that something wasn't right. these guys started slurring speech, and for most people who have never done any kind of dope before, they start saying stuff like, "Man, I feel weird," right? Well, at that point, they got the five of them to the hospital. They, again, I'm doing the deep dive. A child just across the border here in northern Nevada and California just got. And there was an overdose of a child that grabbed a hold of some stuff, didn't ingest it through his mouth, but this was ingested through the skin. Thank God that they brought the child to a firehouse and said, somebody that we had left this our child with must have done something, blah blah blah. So they first they saved the child's life, and then they did a search warrant at the home of these people. Suffice to say that the child is in safe hands, and until these people can demonstrate that they can live life without this garbage, and it's possible, right? It's absolutely possible. Let's hope that they pull it together and end up being really fantastic parents. Second thing that is catching an awful lot of, we're catching a lot of flack here on the boat because we've said things like Halloween's coming and you need to be careful, right? I have had so many emails from people that have called me a whole lot of names, none of them particularly nice, because that isn't happening. Okay. Yesterday at LAX, don't take my word for it, people, go ahead and Google it. LAX, that's an airport in California, right? There was a bust at LAX. The thumbnail that my partner did, which I, by the way, I absolutely love, but they found 12,000 tabs of Fent, and they found it in different candies. Obviously, Whoppers was one of them. There was also Skittles, right? There were Sweet Tarts. The crazy thing is not that they were packaging this stuff to look like pills and putting them in boxes, because we've seen that. I mean, I'm sorry, to look like candy. We have seen this before. This is nothing new. It was in Halloween giveaway bags. All right. That's different. And I don't think they had any intention of handing these things out to kids. I don't. It doesn't make sense. I don't think that this was a T act. You know what I'm talking about? Like the ones that brought down the towers. I don't think it was that kind of act. I think that this is just an easier way to smuggle it, right? They figured the people there are going to go, oh, they're just bringing some Halloween candy over, right? No big deal. However, the danger becomes from there to the end user. Any kid that comes across any of that is going to think it's something it's not. And this is a terrifying, thing that they're using. This kind of this is their method now, and it has come up so many times, right? We've seen it in Lego boxes, right? We've seen it in kids cereal. For whatever reason, that's a huge one, right? They're catching people all the time who happen to have a box of cereal in their car, and that box is always kids cereal. It's always got one of the characters on the front of it, and it's filled with this crap. So for those that want to say this isn't going on, don't take my word for it. But do a little research before you send over those emails, right? All it takes is the Google, right? Just get on there and type in Fent in candy boxes. It'll take you 30 minutes to go through all of them, right? This is prevailing. This is something that is happening all the time, all over the States, right? She asked my partner, he can do that stuff. I'm not so good with the linking and all of that stuff. Do you know if they were sealed? Because that's frightening. Yes, Vicky, they were sealed. Same with the cereal boxes. Same with the Lego boxes. Yeah, this stuff is being done, and this screams organization, right? This screams cartel. I mean, let's be really honest. This is yeah, it is. It's a very intelligent way of smuggling the crap because it's far less likely to get popped, or it was in the beginning, right? Now it's really kind of becoming like they know exactly what's going on and they're targeting anything that looks like a candy. However, with Halloween coming, I'd be scared out of my mind. I really would. The only good news I can tell you is this: when they open the box, right, the stuff inside does not look like a Skittle. The stuff inside does not look like a Whopper. Almost across the board, it has the number 30 on it. Okay, because what they were knocking off was different kinds of perk, 30s, generics, whatever, but it was all perk 30s. What does a zombie vegetarian eat? Greens. I didn't realize we had vegetarian zombies. Seven Son, good to see you, man. Always good to see you. When he's not here, it scares me. It really does. Yeah, I mean, without the comedy, I honestly, this is heavy stuff, right? This is definitely not the feel good show. And I would love to do feel good shows where we lift each other up and we do everything we can to get one another sober. And that's the most important thing that we do here. However, I promise you, people, and if talk to anybody that's been on the boat from Jump Street, and we have always said that the problem is so much worse than it is. And when they were talking about 70 and 80,000 deaths, Mark and I were going, no, no, that's not even in the ballpark. And the number that they came out with, which I promise you is not real, was 107,000. That was last year. I would be blown away if the number that they give us this year isn't 150 or higher. I think realistically, it's probably 250, right? And yeah, agreed, right? And I got an email about this that I got an email from someone that said, why would the government want to lie to people about this? Why would they not want to put out the truth, which would really save people? A couple of reasons. Number one, they don't want to look like it's getting worse on their watch, right? And second reason, people, you ever watch Marf? And he says, if you're scared easily, now would be a pretty good time to maybe go watch something else. You know, if horror movies scare you or whatever, this may not be such a great time to watch. If you're liberal, now might be the time to go watch a horror movie, right?
Yep.
And not be right here. Because this show is not about politics. We don't do politics. But I'll tell you why they're trying to hide the numbers. They're trying to hide the numbers because the vast majority of people who are in office right now, and especially in power, years ago, voted for a wall. They wanted a wall at the southern border to protect us from this kind of thing. Then, when the last administration came in, they didn't want to give that administration a win. So they all said, no, not anymore. Now we want everybody coming over. So they created a super highway for dope, right? If they admit the numbers, people are going to go, why didn't you finish building the damn wall? That would have been a good idea. So they're not going to give you those real numbers. You know what? Ask some of these politicians what changed from when they wanted that wall and voted for it, because under Barack Obama, when he wanted a wall, do a little research. When Obama wanted a wall, all of these people voted for it.
Yep.
When T-Man wanted one, they just weren't going to give a win. We are so divided right now in our country that, and I'm not saying the right has a monopoly on being smart, because they would do the exact same thing. They don't care if our kids are dying. They don't care if this is the number one cause of death on either side. They're not going to give a win. If the bill came in and the bill was from the left and they had an idea how to work on this, the right won't give it to them. If the bill comes in and it's the right and they've got an idea of how to deal with this, the left won't give it to them. It's time that this country and everybody in it gets their you-know-what together, because the amount of people that are dying, we're getting lied to. I promise you, people, we've not been wrong yet. And I don't take any joy in that. No. You know, if the number comes out next year and it's 80, we're going to be the happiest two guys on the planet. But that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
All right, can I say something real quick?
Absolutely. And you shouldn't have to ask that, should you?
Well, I don't want to interrupt when you're,
Okay, no, good. Knock yourself out.
Okay. Yeah, and there's another analogy that I would like to put here to let you guys understand when we're talking about if we're speaking politics or not. What you guys can look at is the actual act of an executive order. Is that right or wrong? It's probably wrong in most cases, but both sides are now whipping the pen each time one follows the other. They're both wrong. That's what we're trying to say. Okay.
Agreed.
So that I just wanted to make that very, from my point of view, that's exactly what Tommy's trying to say, I think. And we're not doing the politic thing. We just don't. But when it applies to what we're saying and it affects what we're doing here, we're going to talk about it. We have to. We would not be responsible if we didn't. So I just wanted to make that,
No, and that's a perfect illustration. It really is, because that's the truth. It's not constitutional on both sides. It's just a crappy thing to do. It takes all of us out of the equation. Matt C says, Sheriff Gradu Judd of Polk County, Florida, had a huge fentanyl bust today and seized a huge amount of and exposed the problems at the border. That stuff came in a cereal box, right? It was secreted inside a cereal box and a very large igloo cooler. Not the kind that you put brew in, the kind that you hit the little thing to get the water out of, like they used to bring to you in Little League. I think that's probably the best way I can describe it. The round thing that holds water. Yeah, that's one of the ones I was referring to. That is a brand new bust. So it's not coming into this. All the statistics I gave you earlier have nothing to do with that. You follow me? A lot of the really horrendous stuff that's happening now doesn't come into this. These are all statistics you're going to hear at a later date. And, I think the one thing that sheriff said, and you guys should, take a look at what Grady, there you go. Take a look at what Matt C said, because it's a press conference worth watching, and it's not going to take you long, right? He hits a lot of really important points. I think the most important one is that we got to stop playing politics with what's going on in this country. People, I want so badly for everybody on this planet to have a shot at getting sober. I'll tell you really honestly right now, we are so close to this being so far out of control that we'll never get it back. Okay? And people go, come on. All right, there are two cartels that are really, really involved in especially the fence stuff coming into the U.S., right? Now, let me see here. I don't want to mispronounce either of these things. Well, the Sinaloa one is pretty easy, right? But the other one it's always been the Jalisco, but now it's Jalisco New Generation, right? They have the JNC. Okay. Those two cartels are the ones that are really pushing fent into our country. Crazy thing is, we know that. We absolutely know that. If you go down to the border of our country and you go 1 mile, 5,280 feet south, they're blowing up buildings, right? There are car bombs. There are assassinations where 6 cars roll up and fire 900 shots at killing a government official. Just Google this stuff, right? A mile south. How long before that crosses our border? Honestly, if you don't think it will come across our border, then your head's in the sand. They're not killing each other because it's fun. They're killing each other because they're talking about money in quantities that would put to shame most of the Fortune 500 companies in America, right? The amount of dope that these people are selling is staggering, and they're willing to kill one another in ways that you would not believe. Jonathan Hicks says, the war on drugs was never going to work, but now it is so bad, I don't know if it's fixable. Sorry, just saying. No reason to say sorry. No reason to say sorry. The really sad thing is that it's the law of unintended consequences, right? If you go back and you look at hallucinogens, and I don't mean weed, but I mean all the other ones, right? Like psilocybe cubensis, the stuff that's in mushrooms, or lysergic, the LSD, right? Or MDMA. There was about 5 of them at one time that were very, very prevalent. And they made it very difficult to get that stuff, right? And they put sentences where they could charge you, like in the federal government for a while, could charge you for attempted murder for every hit of LSD you had. Which is kind of ironic because LSD doesn't kill people, but that's neither here nor there. But because of that, if you had a degree in chemical engineering, you started to try to come up with something that wasn't on the books, right? So we'll just come up with a new hallucinogen that will do kind of the same thing, but it's not one of these 5 because these 5 carry so much time. Well, now there's 30 hallucinogens out there that are being abused. It's the law of unintended consequences, and it just continues to happen again and again. We say we're killing everybody in this country, because we're allowing doctors to give pain prescriptions to anybody that wants them. Instead of saying, let's figure out a way to regulate this so that the people who are hurting can go to their doctors and the people that are shopping can't. They just say, nope, it's all over. Cut off the flow. What do you think happens to someone who has a drug addiction, right? Who's going to a pharmacy to get it? Well, they go to the street, and the first thing they do is try to find pills. They don't go and say, hey, who's got heroin? First thing they do is they try to find pills, which is why the people on the other side of the border are making them look like perk 30s, right? Because it's getting impossible to get a prescription for a perk 30. So all of the people who are addicted to it, and if you use a needle in our country today, right, 4 out of 5 people who use needles in our country for opiate use started out with prescriptions, legal ones, right? Law of unintended consequences. We'd love to do good things, and we love to make it look like we're doing good things. What we're doing is killing more people, right? We're killing more people. And I'm not here to go, hey, legalize all of it. What needs to happen is discussions need to happen. Smart people need to discuss this and come up with solutions that don't cause more problems, right? Let's not do the law of unintended consequence thing, because we're getting to a point where the amount of people we're losing is terrifying. If I went back to, say, 1988, 1998, right? And I said, by the year 2022, the number one cause of death in our country between 18 and 50, which is because over 50, things are going to kill you anyway, right? We get to an age where that's expected. Early death are the people in that age group, right? The number one cause of death is drug overdose. You got to be more worried that your kid's going to die of a drug overdose than a car accident. You got to be more worried that your kid is going to die, or your parent, or your brother or sister is going to die of a drug overdose over cancer. If that doesn't scare the hell out of the entire country, what's going on? How does that not scare them? Truthfully, how does that not scare every single person in our country? You know why? Because there are very few people beating the drum. Honestly, there just aren't enough people talking about this. Now, again, not a political channel. Don't think the right-leaning news stations aren't talking about this a lot, because they can blame it on the left, right? So the left-leaning ones, which make up about 90% of all news, that's not a debate, that's a fact. All of those people, no, they don't want to talk about this, because politics is more important than the lives of our fellow countrymen, which is jacked, right? Which is jacked. In a couple of weeks, we're going to get to vote. I don't tell anybody how to vote, but I would tell you this: figure out what the person you're voting for, what's their stance on this. Call their office and say, what are you going to do about the number of people dying from fentanyl? I don't care if they're right or left. I really don't. If there's somebody from either party that's got a damn good idea, they got my vote. They got my vote. Because to me, this is, we're at war. We're losing really badly. And the number of people that are getting killed is just terrifying, people. And there's just not enough people yelling about it. If you see any of these jokes, right? Seventh Son, that dude did something about it, right? Hundreds of letters, and just blasted every official in the U.S. And it's people like him that are getting them to at least start talking about it, right? To start talking about it. If we had 2% of the population do what he did, I promise you this crap would end, because they don't care about people dying. They really don't. They care about their position in the government dying. They're afraid they're going to have to go get a job, right? And that's both sides, people. I don't care which side you're on. You got 14 assistants, right? If you live in Hawaii, you can fly back and forth every time your kid has a football game, right? We pay for it. You don't have to get charged with insider trading, right and left. They're all freaking guilty. Their biggest fear is that they're going to lose this cash cow of fun. So if we can make them realize that if they don't do something about this, we're going to get them the hell out of office, that's when all of a sudden the compassion will come out. And it will be, oh, these poor Americans, right? So it's coming. It really is. So do a little research and figure out exactly what the people you have a shot of voting for, what side are they falling on this? Because if you think we're making this a bigger deal than it is, right? For views or for sensationalism or whatever the hell you want, we're not making a big enough deal about this. I promise you, we're downplaying the crap out of this. There is just no two ways to look at what's going on. It's a one. Go ahead, Mike.
No, it's just really hard for us to draw a line where what we can and can't say, or what we should or should say, because we don't want to influence anybody's way that they think, and we don't want to not put it out there as hard as it needs to be. So it's a fine line that we try to walk, and so and we're not always going to succeed at that. But the point is, we're talking about it, and that's the point. Like we say all the time, communication. Now I just put another picture up there next to the thumbnail there, guys. That is a picture from Polk County. Now the one on the bottom, that is what they seized. Okay, if you guys look at that, it's Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah, right.
An Igloo cooler. So, and again, we're not naive to think that they're going to be passing this stuff out to kids.
No, they're not.
Not what we're saying. What we're saying is that they're getting extremely creative on how to get the stuff in here.
Yep.
And what if
5 kilos, by the way, 5 kilos.
Yeah. And what if it was your child that was still in school and actually came across some of this stuff just by happenstance? You know, would you still feel okay if you just kept your mouth shut? Probably not. I know I wouldn't. I would be seriously guilty over that kind of stuff. But again, we get it. We're not so naive to think that this stuff is actually going to make it to a 2-year-old or something like that. That's not their goal, and that's what Tommy said earlier. It is not their goal to get it to those kinds of people. Their goal is to get to 18 to 48-year-olds. That's their goal. So, I mean, yeah. So the biggest thing here, guys, is they are getting it across still. And we were talking, I'm not sure if we talked about it here or not. I think we did. But the analogs, what they make the stuff with, there's been so many videos made in the past week, like over on Vice and over on some of the other channels like National Geographic, even Discovery. All these channels are now making shows now, and they're talking about the analogs that they're sending over. They don't send fentanyl over to Mexico. They send the analogs over. They send all the ingredients, and they make it there. So, and again, we've talked about that, but realize that's what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And it's really very similar to like laundering money, if you really think
The
about it.
beast from the east.
Yeah.
Right. We're not. We are really avoiding saying their name because obviously they must own everybody.
It's
but
crazy.
if we say their name, bad things happen. But the beast from the east, right? They are responsible for sending the stuff over. And for a while, people, honestly, if you go back far enough, say about 7 years back, they were just sending over the finished product, crap loads of it. Now that doesn't happen nearly as often. Now what you're getting is, as Mark says, you're getting analogs and everything that you need in order to make this. Jonathan Hicks says it's almost an act of war. Oh, it is.
Great comment.
It's a great comment, and it is an act of war. Just for a little perspective, people. World War II, right? And I know that there are people from every country watching this. Unfortunately, I only know stuff from our country when it comes to statistics like this. But World War II, we lost just under 300,000 people from our country, right? Vietnam, just under 60. And these are things that just absolutely changed the world, and all of the people who were affected and all of those, the families that got the sad message that they lost. 900,000. We're approaching 1 million deaths from this garbage. And trust me when I tell you, 2022 is going to put us way over the top. It's going to be way over the top. We are definitely going to be into the million. And if they don't do something soon, I will be having this conversation. We will all be having this conversation at 2 million. I'm telling you. And he's right. It's an act of war. And he made a great comment earlier. He said, it's not a right or left kind of a thing, right? This has been rigged from the beginning. And the key to that is this. I talked about that awful family, right? We did a special on it, the Sacklers. And they're one of about 3. It's not the only family with blood on their hands. We're going to expose a few more later. But they're the big one. And they're covered in blood. So that family, along with 2 others, donated just under $1 billion to political candidates. 900 million. Now, if I said to you, which side do you think they fell on? Right or left?
Both.
Right down the freaking middle.
Yep.
There is not one party that got more. They all got it. And when you look through, you will occasionally come across a politician who said to him, I don't want anything to do with you. But it's so damn rare to find a politician out there that said, I'm not taking money from Big Pharma. And I'll tell you something, I do not care what party they were from. For real. If they didn't take money from them, that's the kind of person I want in office. Yep. Honestly, it is. But the only good thing, and there's nothing really good, people, but the only good thing about this crisis is that it is exposing every single part of our crap system. Right? This happens across every single genre. no matter what you're talking about in terms of policies, this is going on that way and this way. But this one has a death count. And it has a death count that is going up at unbelievable speeds. And I'll tell you, I got an email from Mr. T, right? And I'm trying to think about his real.
I pity the fool.
No, different Mr. T.
Okay.
Good call, though. Good call. DJ Daddio.
Yeah.
DJ Daddio sent an email that said, I'd like to see the death count on the nightly news, like they used to do from from Vietnam or from any of the other conflicts.
That's awesome.
Isn't that an amazing idea, man? Just one station to say, here's the count at the bottom, because the more that we get in people's faces and yell about this, the better a chance we have of somebody hearing this that has a little bit of pull, has a little bit of something, because this is terrifying, right? And it's our kids, it's our parents, right? It's our sons and daughters, it's our brothers and sisters.
And it's it's
Go
not
ahead.
going away. That's the thing.
It's not.
This isn't something that we can just turn a blind eye to and expect it to go away, because it's not going to. And there's proof of that too, guys. I mean, like we talked before, we talk about the numbers we just got through talking about. If you take that on back in history, they called it a massive epidemic and a crisis back in the 70s when Vietnam was first over in New York and Harlem and Queens and all that, when 7,000 people died.
Yeah.
Okay, and to address the number count there, guys, listen, when we're talking about C+ math, you know what they did, right? I mean, we all know what they did. They said that that's how they were going to do it. If they came in with any kind of flu symptoms, they put the number with C+ math. It didn't matter.
If you died on a motorcycle crash, but you happened to test for that, you went into that statistic.
Right. So what do you think's happening here?
The other side.
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to say.
The other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. He overdosed, but he owned a motorcycle. Put it down as a motorcycle crash.
Exactly.
For real. I mean, that's the kind of crap that's going on. And there's a vested interest. They don't want the world knowing just how bad they're screwing up. And the good news is this. There are people right now in the comment section saying, you know what, term limits might do this, would certainly help. Getting rid of lobbyists. Boy, getting rid of lobbyists would be huge, right? Because when you start spreading around $900 million, really disgusting things happen, right? And the other thing that's sad, and I don't want to get this too far out there, because I'm going to be talking about it on an upcoming show, but every once in a while, they'll bust somebody from Big Pharma. It's not that it hasn't happened. There have been CEOs from pharmaceutical companies who have gone to prison because they allowed things to go on so that these things got put out to the general public. You know how long they got? 46 months. And the guys below them who are actually pushing the products out there and in the trenches dealing drugs got 24 months each. Now, if you had got caught with 2 ounces of meth, right, 2 ounces of heroin, you were going to do more time. These people were sending 18-wheelers out into every single direction they could to deliver drugs. The game is skewed, but knowledge is power. This freaking thing is more dangerous to them than any weapon that has ever come across. If you beat this drum, if you scream this, if you write letters, the most dangerous weapon in the entire world right now is a smartphone. The things that you can do with one. Research this stuff. Send out letters. Not a joke, but think about your local conspiracy theorists lately. Damn, I've been they're having a good batting average. It's a pretty strong point, right? The local conspiracy theorists, how much of what people say is actually coming true, and it's a pretty good point, right? All of these things that just seemed damned ridiculous years ago, and we did a show that a couple of people reached out and said that it seemed like a bit of a conspiracy theory. When I started talking about this, right? It's coming from the beast from the east, right? And they're a place that looks long-term, far more than we do. We think in terms of 4 years. We'll have a new leader in here in 4 years, right? So every 4 years, everything seems to change, at least in attitudes and everything else. These people are planning 100 years ahead of time. And right now, They are eroding the fabric of our country by killing off a ton of people. And I'll tell you something: there are people in this in the comment section on the deck of the boat today who realize that sometimes it's worse for those that aren't dead. Right? I spent 30 years being one of those zombies, and I'll tell you something: honest to God in heaven, if I had to pick one or the other today, if they said you're going to ride out the rest of this the way you did the first half, I'd rather be dead. I would. It's just no way to live. But they're doing damage. They really are. And if you think that's a conspiracy theory, I mean, knock yourself out. Where's it coming from? Both sides of the aisle will tell you where it's coming from. There's no argument. It's pretty easy to trace. You know, where it is coming from is definitely the beast from the east.
Yep. Yeah, and that's you know, it's just really...
Jonathan Hicks says, "Can I call in?" Sure, knock yourself
Hey,
out.
I just put, here. I'll put the Zoom link in the chat again. Here's the Zoom link. If you guys want to call the number's at the bottom of the screen or at the top of the chat in the pinned comments. If you guys want to use your phone, we are looking at getting a permanent, just a phone number. So that's going to be coming in the future as we move forward here. Just to let you guys know. That way you guys can just dial a number and we can just talk without having to do the password thing and all that.
Right? Yeah, that is coming.
Yeah, so we get anybody in that wants to go ahead and hit that Zoom link if you're having
Yeah,
problems.
I'm not. You know what? I'm not worried about it at all. I really am not. You call in, people. Here's the thing: you articulate an opinion, honestly, whatever that opinion is. As long as you're not dropping F-bombs and talking about this or that, I'm pretty cool with it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, yeah. Just a shout out to the mods. We got some hardworking mods, especially since the the larger you start to get, we were just a little channel for a long time, and now we're like that mid-range, like we're the big of the small, and
Good way to put it. Good way to put it.
yeah, we're the king of the really teeny the really teeny channels, and so the porn bots are just insane, and our mods work really, really hard. And then survival game. Here's the sad thing: I honestly had the sextant in my hand. I was going to bring the thing down here, and I forgot it. I was gonna,
guys, I want to bring something funny here real quick too. Since survival games here, she had Trinity blue pill, red pill, hi ho Kermit the Frog here. Okay, yeah. That's the name of her channel, guys. Go check her out.
If not, you were really close.
Yeah, she's a model on my channel. We all met through Marfugal and all that. But she was on with SG, and they were talking about the Loch Ness monster and how to debunk it and all that kind of stuff. And one of the debunked theories for the Loch Ness monster is that it was a whale's reproductive organ sticking out of the water.
Yes, I heard that.
So I'll just leave it at that. You guys, put your imagination to that if you want. But they showed side-by-side pictures of like what they thought was a Loch Ness monster, and then they showed a whale with its,
yes,
out above the water, and it looked really similar.
Right. There's definitely.
I just thought it was funny.
It's worth. Yeah. Lady Hammer. Let me answer that real quick. Lady Hammer says, "How is Big Pharma involved in this?" Big Pharma lit the fuse that created the problem. They created the demand, and then took away the supply. Right. If you go back and look at the video that we did, it's got a bunch of faces on it, and it says the faces of evil. And we will tell you exactly what Big Pharma did and the names of the people who started this entire epidemic. What they did was get a bunch, and I mean a bunch of people addicted to a substance. And this isn't like other substances, right? When you're addicted, you get viciously sick without it. And it really is a difficult thing. So these people said, well, I can't quit, right? There's no way I can quit. So once Big Pharma realized they were in deep doo-doo with the lawsuits and everything else, they went to Congress and said, okay, we're not selling this stuff anymore, right? We're pulling it off. And Congress said, we can't let doctors write prescriptions for this. And now people who are in pain, and people that may not have been in pain in the beginning, but who are now strung out, all of these people went to the street. And economics 101, right? If there is a huge demand and somebody takes away the supply, what happens? Somebody else fills that supply. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, that was with heroin. And it became the fastest growing drug in popularity in this country. which was crazy, right? And I was abusing it pretty heavily at that time. But I remember hearing that statistic and going, wow, that's nuts, right? Because I had been on it for a long time and it was just not something people even talked about.
All right.
Then they realized that the profit margin in Fent was way bigger. They didn't need fields, they didn't need anything. And the people that were selling them the analogs and the precursors were willing to do it almost at a loss.
Yeah.
They were selling them the stuff so damn cheap. I wonder why.
Yep.
The Beast from the East is just so kind. They want to help out the people
That's,
south of the border.
That's just something we haven't talked about too on that end of it. Think about it, guys. If we actually did have an SHTF event, I'm not going to say what that abbreviation means, but
right,
crap hits
hitting the fan.
Hitting the fan. Okay, if we actually had an event like that, what do you think would happen to especially the heartland of this country? As soon as that supply chain of what we're talking about is gone.
Yeah.
Do you honestly think that we wouldn't turn on ourselves? That's exactly what would happen. Not to mention those, just everything else that's out there. I mean, that is a huge thing that nobody ever talks about. Nobody ever brings that up. But anybody that is dependent even on a medication, diabetics, any of these kinds of things, these are things that they can prep for, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not going to prep for that because we've already spent all our money.
If you don't think that the government is onto this too, if you went back, say, 7 years, and you were on any of the medical assisted treatments, right, for the cessation of opiates, you were getting something made in that country, the Beast from the East. Now, if you're getting that stuff generic, it's coming from New Jersey, right? And they have been doing everything they can to make sure that that kind of stuff is getting made in the good old US of A. And it's, I don't think that that's an accident. I think they realize just how ugly it could possibly get. That's
awesome, Tommy, by the way. I hope I read your email too, Tommy. That was cool. I really appreciate you sending that over to me and Tommy. That was really awesome. That made me feel really good.
That really was something, wasn't it?
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Yep.
You're right, Kay. It's out of hand. And I'll be really honest with you. It's been out of hand for a decade. But now, I mean, this is critical mass. I promise you, they're not as concerned right now as politicians about how to stop this. They're more concerned about how the hell they're going to hide next year's numbers. That's what they're most concerned about because they're going to be ugly. Yeah. They are going to be ugly. And if you know what, you don't have to be geniuses. Watch anything, look anything up, and they'll say to you, overdoses from fent are up 160% from last year. But they're predicting next year we're going to have 120,000 deaths. We had 107 this time. How do you double the amount of deaths and then say it's going to raise by 10%?
Yeah.
It's good to see you, man.
It's just one of those things you just know. And what they're counting on people like us is to stay quiet. And that's what they think's going to happen. And they're probably right for the most part. But people like us are trying to change that. And it doesn't start with me and Tommy. It starts with you guys in the chat. That's how it spreads. Just like Tommy Bird was talking about. He's got an event he's going to be taking the business cards to, he says. Let's see, let me read it for you. So shout out to, Tommy Scoville. Okay, I appreciate you both. That was the one he left. Thank you for that, by the way, Tommy. But I want to read the one where you posted sorry, guys. I thought I had it right there. I missed it. Anyway, he was talking about passing those out. Time to get the business cards out and pass.
He's right.
Yeah, exactly. There it is.
Well, just to give you a little perspective, right? If for those of you who are kind of in the know, we told you we'd give you the behind the scenes stuff. Well, the crew has been extremely generous, especially in the last month or so. And tomorrow is sort of the pay period here at the Big Red Button. So I can assure you that in the very near future, that's what's going to be happening. And we're going to be, we're pretty excited about that as a concept. Yes. It's a great one. It really is. It's a great one. And Seven Sun says 5/4 of people admit that they're bad at fractions.
Yeah, you didn't reduce your fractions, Steve.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yep.
But yeah, and I'm going to say something here too about the Inside Baseball real quick. We told you guys we've been working on getting the memberships fired up, and I now have that ready and it's been approved. We just haven't turned them on yet. I'll be showing you guys some stuff. probably maybe even tomorrow, just to give you an outline of what they are, what the perks are for each level. I think you guys will really enjoy it, and it's going to help support what we do here. And so hopefully you guys will like that. We're looking to move forward, guys, and that's what we're trying to do, trying to grow it and trying to keep going in a positive direction. And we're going to stall out just like every channel does. Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to stall, and we're going to pick back up. It's going to stall, we're going to pick back up. That's just how the game plays. But during those times, we just want to try to kind of bridge that a little bit. So I know we've had how many emails you got telling me about wanting to be a member of the channel? I've gotten a bunch. I know that.
Yeah, I know a load.
Crazy.
And some texts. There's been a lot of, since you brought that up, it's definitely got a lot of people talking. Brandon says, how do you know that they're accurate about those death tolls? They're not, right? That's just what they're putting out. Trust and believe they're a lot higher than the numbers you're getting. But we got to spit something out so we have a point of reference. But you're right. I promise you, you're right. They're not even in the ballpark because they're very good at doctoring that stuff up. Perfect example. A guy ODs tonight, and he spends the next month in the hospital for all intents and purposes with no brain activity. Then they're going to pull the plug. They're not going to call that an overdose, which is crazy, right? But those overdoses basically are people they couldn't get to and save on the spot, right? You die with a needle in your arm, you're an overdose. You die, you fall asleep at the wheel and run into something, and when they test you, you got 4 times a lethal dose of fentanyl in your system. You had a car wreck. Right, they really do everything they can to knock the corners off of that, to be sure.
100, and I guys, it's kind of very similar to what I deal with a few of those kind of types of comments and questions over on my channel, and we get the comment over there. Well, how can you trust the satellite imaging, right? Because it's coming from the government agencies. Well, there's not a whole lot of choice, honestly. We have to have a base point somewhere. They can't, obviously they're not going to tell us the exact truth. They just don't. And believe it or not, guys, there's good reasons for that and bad reasons. Sometimes we don't need to know everything. But
yeah, there's something to be said for that, honestly.
But when we're looking at this and we're trying to fix problems, you got to kind of look at this and be like, why would they need to do this? So it's not for the good reason in this instance, is what I'm trying to say.
It's not.
So, but yeah, that's a very legitimate question though, because I think we all wonder that. I really do.
It is. And Jackson is doing some stuff with his church. They're extending what they were doing a little bit longer. I know we love Jackson, but yeah, he emails me, always lets me know what's going on. So yeah, he will be here.
Yeah, Jackson.
Is that? Do you say Damon? Do you say Damon? I don't want to mispronounce.
I think it's Damon.
Damon. Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all have a great night. Thanks for the stream. Thank you. Really appreciate you being here, man. That's true story. Really appreciate you being here.
Go
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
I just wanted to say, guys, mods, I need all you mods to email me by the end of the weekend, please. I'm setting some stuff up that I need you guys to have some information. We're gonna look at all that, and if we're gonna try to look at some different things here, and because we're gonna have to start getting you guys a little bit more involved, I think. So we're gonna. What I'm gonna do, the main thing I want to do at first, I want to send you guys a file that you guys can just copy and paste into the chat. That way you don't have to type stuff in like links to this or links to that. Charlie does a really good job of that, by the way. So thank you, Charlie.
Yep.
And my guess is that's probably how he does it. He probably has a Word document or something opened up on his computer, and he just copy and pastes. So it makes it so much easier for you guys, and it'll get done that way. And believe it or not, guys, it does help grow the channel. Because the information's there, and it's right there, and it's easy to get to. Because we are a lazy society. We are lazy, and that's why. One extra click.
Lawrence
Lawrence
of Oregon says, when the Vermont governor dedicated his whole state of the state speech to the opioid crisis, 4 months later, my friend's son got a black eye playing b-ball, and a Vermont doctor gave him a oxy prescription. The reason that I picked this comment, that's my state, right? I grew up in the state of Vermont, and I left there. Let's see. a minute ago, right? I left there right around 18 years old, and now I'm an old man. But when I was in high school, Senator Leahy came to my high school to make a speech, right? He's still in office. The real problem is that these people get entrenched, both sides, both sides. They all got to go. That's my last humble opinion, and it's got nothing to do with either side. But you know what? When the founding fathers got this baby off the ground, they went home after a couple of years, and then they went back to being farmers, right? I mean, the guys that wrote our Constitution were blacksmiths, silversmiths, farmers, right? Now what do we got? We got professional politicians. So you do nothing, right? You do nothing. I write laws. Well, I think about 15 laws should cover everything. I don't think we need 300,000 new ones a year, and that's about what we write. Alrighty, people. You know what? Term limits. I agree with you. Here's the good news, right? Here's the good news for real. The good news is that there's still miracles happening. There are, and we're still saving people. Even if you're losing the war, we can win battles. Today, there's someone on the boat, and they may or may not choose at a later date to talk about it. But somebody on the boat today started a medical assisted treatment program, and it was like the sky opened up and I mean, I got like 50 text messages that says this, there's no way this is real, right? No pain, no nothing. I said, yeah, this is real. So there are people still getting saved, and the news is getting out. You guys are a cut above everything else, and that's the truth. Got the best crew and the best mods anywhere in all of the big rigs.
Guys, I'm putting a email down in the chat right here. I'm calling it mods email, but you'll see it's a Gmail account. It's the name of it's Sobriety SOC, which stands for Sobriety Society. It's just something I just kind of came up with in my own head. But that's something we're going to use for the mods, I think. And so please, mods, email me there, and we will get this kind of going here. Thank you, Brandon. Wow. Very generous, man. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, I love Brandon. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate you, bud. I really do. Thank you, Vicky.
Yeah.
Aaron, thank you. Everybody. You know what? Appreciate you guys.
Linda,
every last
feel better.
one of
Feel
you.
better, Linda, please. Prayers for Linda, guys, okay?
Yeah, continue that, please.
Yes.
Please continue that. Let's keep that going. Alrighty, everybody. You know, this is our Monday. Right? Might feel like a Friday to you, but this is our Monday. So we will be back tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. And I don't know, maybe we'll do something a little more uplifting. I promise. Alrighty, everyone. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
And that is a cat in a basket. Good night, everybody. We love you.